All right, so for the last 30 days, I spent 60 minutes staring at this exact blank wall, and it completely broke my addiction to cheap dopamine. Now, most of you out here are spending either hundreds of dollars on focus supplements, locking your phones in either the bathroom or a safe, and just trying to find the perfect productivity hack just to build your digital assets for a clean 2 hours without getting distracted. Now, don't get me wrong, I was doing the exact same thing. I was locking my phone in the bathroom, and it's just, my focus window was just completely cooked until I ran this specific experiment. So that's pretty much what this video is. I'm just going to show you guys the raw neuroscientific data of how I pretty much just bored myself to success. Now, first things first, we got to understand why your work ethic is laggy. We have to look at the actual math inside of your head. Now, your brain operates on two different levels of dopamine. The first is going to be the Phasic dopamine. These are pretty much going to be your sharp, aggressive chemical spikes you get when you check a text, open a chart, or look at your views. Every time you see a quick hit of novel data, your brain pretty much just drops a Phasic spike. The second level is the tonic dopamine. Now, this is going to be your steady baseline chemical floor. When your tonic baseline is high and stable, sitting quietly at your desk to either script videos, audit packaging, or clean up an operational tracking sheet, it just feels physically easy. Now, the problem that we all have is that our Phasic spikes are pinned at 100% the second you wake up, because we sit there and just, as soon as we wake up, we literally just look at our phone. Now, when your baseline is hyperinflated by cheap simulation, doing the real high leverage work feels literal torture to your brain. This is why staring at a wall for an hour forces your brain into an absolute chemical bankruptcy, which lowers your baseline back to zero, so regular work becomes highly stimulating again. Now, the second major shift happens at around day 5, and it's pretty much the forced activation of your DMN, also known as your default mode network. The DMN is pretty much the system that instantly fires up the moment external stimulation drops to absolute zero. So when you block out all your inputs, your brain stops reacting to short-term fires and is forced to process background tasks. Now, this is the exact reason why your best business ideas, your sharpest video concepts, and your solutions to pretty much all your bottlenecks in your business always hits when you're laying down in your bed, showering, even pooping, bro. When I'm sitting on the toilet, I'm locked in there for an hour and a half, and I'm literally just thinking about everything in the world because I'm not on my phone. I'm locked in. But your brain is finally allowed to process data cleanly. And while staring at that wall, my brain was completely starved of notifications. And because of that, it started mapping out long-term strategic leverage. And I literally solved a bunch of pipeline errors, optimized my distribution models, and structuralized content sequences completely inside my head. So the problem isn't your mind being broken. It's literally just too loud to let your strategic systems function. Now, this experiment forces you to execute what I call the 5-door block play. Your attention is managed by your brain's salience network, which is the filter that decides what is urgent or rewarding. Right now, your brain has 5 open doors to choose from every time you sit down to work. Scripting a high retention video or doing a big project in general does require cognitive effort, so your salience network naturally just tricks you into walking through the easiest door available, which is that notification door. When you sit in front of a wall, you are manually locking the doors to your phone, your email, your browser tabs, stuff like that. And when you finally stand up after 60 minutes of boredom and walk over to your desk, your script layout or your tracking spreadsheet or any important task that you need to complete should be your only door left open in your entire environment. Your brain pretty much just has no choice but to flood all of its cognitive energy straight into it. Let's take a look at this data right here. This is exactly what happens when you fall into the fake break loop. The biggest mistake creators make is finishing an intense 90-minute work block, getting up from their chair, and instantly rewarding themselves by scrolling on social media. Now, you probably think this is resting your brain, but honestly, you're doing the exact opposite. You're forcing your brain to process intense, high-velocity visual inputs right after a hard sprint. This completely destroys the tonic baseline you just built. So to maintain an elite level of output across a 10-hour day, you have to close your work loops with 0 stimulation windows. So after a heavy build session, you need to step away from the monitors, leave your phone on the desk, and go sit quietly or just stare at the wall for another 5 minutes. You have to protect your attention capital like a serious financial asset. Now by day 30, which I just completed, my execution speed had completely doubled. Tasks that used to sit in my operations pipeline for 4 days because I didn't have the mental energy to start them were getting executed and deployed in a single afternoon. Everyone in this digital space is hunting for a secret AI tool, a new extension, a software hack to unlock peak performance. But the mathematical reality is very simple. Your capacity to scale automated income streams is directly proportional to your capacity to tolerate boredom. If you cannot sit quietly in a room with your own mind for an hour, you do not possess the discipline required to control high leverage data systems. Now, I have mapped out our entire internal infrastructure, the exact script templates, data tracking systems, and team scaling frameworks we use to run automated media pipelines directly inside of our premium operator lounge. The link is pinned in the description below. Your goal needs to be to get your attention floor dialed in, lock your seat into the network, and get to work.